Hello, this is Dr. Dave Maslach talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3, and in this particular video, I actually want to talk to you about when you should choose to do a Doctor's of Business Administration degree online or do one in person. And there is often a lot of discussion about that or thought about doing a PhD or a DBA from distance or thinking about it from, remotely. But I don't think that this is always the right decision. In fact, I think that for most people, it is probably not going to be a very good decision, depending on what you're doing. Sometimes it's a really good decision, sometimes it's not a good decision. I'm going to get into what do I mean by that. So, first of all, what is a PhD or a DBA in Doctors of Business Administration? A DBA typically is much more of an applied program than a PhD in business administration. A PhD in business administration is going to get you, you're going to be on the tenure track professor sort of role that you'd be in a college of business, but a DBA, you are going to be much more along the lines of focusing on sort of practical applications of what you're learning. So when would you choose an online version of a Doctor's of Business Administration? First of all, if you're doing any sort of research, and if you're thinking about doing research in any degree, it is probably not advisable to do a PhD or DBA from starting out from online. And I'm going to put a caveat there. You can maybe do this if once you've actually developed a long relationship and a strong relationship with the people that you're working with the faculty that you're working with. So once you've lived close by and you got to know the faculty that you're going to be working with in terms of a research role, then maybe after 2 or 3 years, it's okay that you can live apart, right? That's totally fine. You could do things virtually now. But if you're thinking about it right from the get-go and you don't want to move and sort of view the PhD or DBA as a full-time thing, it's going to be really tricky if you're doing the research route. Now, it is going to be useful, so I want to sort of talk to you about, when is an online DBA going to be useful for you? It is going to be pretty useful. So you probably want to consider a online DBA if you want to teach at a college level to some sort of degree. And I'm focusing on teaching only. The research aspect of it is you're probably not going to get the same sort of rigor that you would get in terms of the research component than if you went to an actual university, physical university where the faculty are on staff and you can actually talk to them on a regular basis. If you want to teach, it is probably okay. Now you might want to think about where you're going to, first of all, to teach and ask them what they think of those particular programs, because the programs vary largely, unless you're going to a large state university or, maybe it's a very good private school where they have an online DBA kind of program sort of thing. Then that's probably okay, but then you want to check and just make sure that it is okay. You just go talk to faculty that you are interested in, maybe teaching beside in terms of a teaching role. And there's a real difference between the sort of teaching and, research, tenure track research routes. The tenure track research routes, your primary purpose is to do research in a business school. A teaching sort of program is much more focused on, teaching. You're going to be teaching a lot more, maybe 3 or 4 courses a semester, compared to the research route where it is you're, at most teaching 2 courses a semester, and you're going to be doing most of your time doing research or developing a research, your research sort of pipeline, right? Now, a online DBA is really going to be good, and a PhD as well is going to be really good if you are interested in wanting to get an advanced understanding of organizations and markets. Those are going to be really useful. It's going to really sort of accelerate you with your understanding with the world around you. They are fantastic. Any program, doesn't matter which one you're looking at, an online program versus one that's in person, anything is going to get really help you out in sort of understanding the world around you. You are also going to get a much better understanding of the science behind sort of the ideas that you might learn in an MBA or in a business school, maybe an undergraduate business program. Those are going to be you're just going to understand the science a lot more, no matter which one you choose, because they're both going to have, for the most part, they're both going to have, some component of research. That is, the online DBA is going to be a lot more, from what I understand, most programs are going to be a lot more focused on, smaller research projects compared to, the PhD in business administration is going to be much more focused on basic research. The other thing that you should think about is, if you are really interested in just learning about organizations and markets, then if that's just your passion, that sometimes it's a good thing to do. And if you have the money, some of them are very expensive, but they're well worth it if you have the money, and you're just doing it just to learn for that component of it. That's it's quite nice. It's very luxurious to learn about organizations and people and markets and all sorts of things like that. It's really fun and interesting. Now, I'm going to sort of point out, it's not going to be a very good alternative for a lot of people for sort of different factors. One of them is, if you're doing a DBA, or you're thinking of an online DBA to get rich in some sort of way, there really is no rules to riches. All the stuff we learn in business schools, or we research in business schools, doesn't really help you out. A lot of times it doesn't really help you out in terms of getting very wealthy in the long run. That is something that just, it's really hard to predict. And the science behind that is really murky, and we're still understanding, and I don't think we're anywhere near close to come up with the rules for riches. And besides that, if we did have a rules to riches, most of us would probably not be working in a business school teaching this kind of stuff, right? We would actually be getting out there and becoming extremely wealthy. So that just doesn't exist if you're going about it that route. The other thing, if you want to interact with high-level executives, that's probably not going to happen with an online DBA. You're probably going to be better off to do an executive MBA of some degree, where you get out and you actually interact with people a lot more, and you sort of meet on weekends and stuff like that, where you actually interact with other people. Online DBA is a lot more sort of a personal thing, where you're just studying about how organizations work and the theory behind how organizations and markets actually work. There's a lot more to it. But that's the general idea, compared to, it's really not a meet and greet kind of degree. It's just not the way to go if you're going to think about that. And the last one that you should really be aware of, it's not a PhD or a DBA. They're not easy degrees to get. They're really hard. So you have to be very, very focused. You have to be very dedicated, and you have to be very thoughtful right now if you're thinking about it, whether you actually want to choose to do it. I will tell my PhD students, just, if they're thinking about it, or anybody's thinking about it, just don't do it. It's a really hard degree, and the returns are a long way. You don't get returns very quickly. They'll happen, but they don't happen very quickly. So they're way in advance, or they're way in the future by the time you actually get any returns of doing this particular degree. So you should be very, very careful with that. If you're thinking of getting an immediate return, like an MBA or something like that, it's not going to be the same. It really is a degree that you're just getting a good understanding of the world. And really just, you're just digging down into the science of how organizations work. And science is murky. It's not clear. There is a lot of different things that we don't know. So with that, it just makes it really difficult to do. It's a difficult degree. There's so many things that you can learn, but there's so many things that we don't know about. instilled today, so it's not going to be easy in any sort of way. So again, if you like these videos, give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate it, and do subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll keep putting more of these kind of stuff out. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.